Paris and London, two of the largest capital cities in Europe. They're both large economic and touristic metropoles. These are two of the most cosmopolitan cities on the planet. But when everyone has their own traditions and ways of life, cosmopolitanism can sometimes cause problems. Patrol officers are there to resolve disputes. In Paris, the Champs-Élysées is a testament to the differences between the rich and the poor. Beggars and thieves line the pavements. To stamp out this phenomenon, a special unit has been created, the BST. In Notting Hill, London, different communities live on top of each other, but that doesn't mean they like to mix. During the day, the local police keep the area safe and stay close to residents. At night, the atmosphere becomes electric. A special unit has been created to keep the London streets safe, the TSG. In these two cosmopolitan capitals, police officers work tirelessly to contain social tensions linked to multiculturalism. Paris, the Champs-Élysées, the most beautiful street in the world. It stretches along 2 kilometers between Place de la Concorde and Place de l'Étoile. Filled with high-end stores and some of the planet's most luxurious hotels, the Champs-Élysées is an emblem of the City of Light. 100 million people visit this street every year. 30 million of them are well-to-do tourists. It's no wonder the pavement is lined with beggars and highly skilled thieves. For some time now, organized groups from Eastern Europe have taken over the Champs-Élysées. This phenomenon, naturally, has severely tarnished the image of the famous street. In Paris, these different cultures can no longer find any middle ground. Increased crime levels have caused a feeling of insecurity. The number of visitors and sales has fallen. The police commissioner decided it was time to act. A special unit was created, the BST, the Special Field Unit. 25 police officers patrol the street 24/7 fighting crime, curbsider dealing, and tourist traps. Beggars and thieves are quickly losing ground. It's the beginning of Catherine, Anne, Morgan, and Ioan's shift. Ioan is a Romanian officer working with the BST to help the French police.
They're here for a period of time to help us with Romanian crime. It's a real problem for us. Romanians. We talk about Romanians, but in fact, they're not all Romanians. Anyway, he helps us. He's here for 3 months. He's a Romanian officer, and he's wearing his Romanian uniform. And well, without realizing it, he's a massive help, helping with interpreting, with street presence.
It's early in their shift. There's not a lot to report yet. But the BST's presence on the streets reassures everyone.
Generally speaking, the Parisians are on vacation in August. August isn't a month when we see a lot of people.
But the quiet patrol will soon be interrupted. While they are walking back up the street, Morgan and Ioan are stopped by 2 young men. The officers are clearly needed.
At this metro station? Yes, on the side for Chateau de Vincennes. I don't know, he said, give me your purse. There were 2 of them. So someone was attacked 2 minutes ago? What did they look like? They had beards.
No time to ask questions. They have to act fast.
Apparently, a woman was assaulted by two men about 2 minutes ago, so we've come down here quickly from the station to investigate.
Don't worry. Take it easy. It's not a fight.
Appearances can be deceiving. The two bearded men, the supposed attackers, are actually undercover Metro Police officers. Their camouflage seemingly works well. The two women who have been arrested look like tourists, but they are in fact well-known thieves.
This one opened the woman's bag, rifled through it, and stole her wallet. Theft at gunpoint in Reunion. They're both Chilean. They're not tourists. They're pickpockets who come to Europe, travel around Europe during the summer, and rob tourists in all the countries. Chileans, Mexicans, Peruvians.
The two Chilean women are part of a South American network of criminals. These criminal organizations plague the entire continent.
So that went well?
Well, yeah, it went all right. It went fine. Now we're checking that there haven't been any other thefts associated with them. I didn't see anything. I didn't feel anything. It was the officers who told me that something was missing from my bag.
The Metro officers rely on the BST's support. The different police units working on the Champs-Élysées tend to work together. The coming together of law and order services produces very good results.
We gave them a hand, in particular with body searches, because there were two women and we're female officers. It's easier to search them. You can't be searched by someone of the opposite sex, so it was helpful.
The Chilean pickpockets will be taken to the station. Morgan and Johan will stay with their Metropolitan counterparts, while Catherine and Anne keep patrolling the Champs-Élysées. Although most of the criminals are in fact foreigners, their targets are also foreigners. London, Europe's largest metropole. Always on trend, it's a fast-paced city with an electric energy. The city has somehow maintained its traditions while also leaping into modern life, but it hasn't left behind its Briticisms. The capital of the UK is the most cosmopolitan city in Europe. Here, for better or for worse, the benefits of multiculturalism are shouted from the rooftops. Walking through the city street, you can hear up to 300 different languages and meet people from 50 different ethnic communities. London is an urban monster that won't stop growing, and its gentrification has no limits. With its charming Victorian properties, at one time, Notting Hill had become somewhat of an upper-class neighborhood. But more recently, this part of London has become the home for workers and immigrants from the Caribbean, Morocco, and even Ireland. Today, Braid is behind the steering wheel on patrol in Notting Hill. She's got Kathy and Carlos to keep her company. Carlos is a police community support officer who was born and raised in this neighborhood before it became a hotspot for the wealthy. Like many young adults in the area, he knows that he could have turned out differently. He was recruited by the Met because he knows this area like the back of his hand. A valuable asset. He patrols these working-class streets. If you're not from here, you're not necessarily welcome. An outsider has just learned that for himself.
Yeah, good.
Someone's come in the early hours of the morning and smashed car windows. We'll check on it when we go back to the office. It's obviously been dealt with. But they're saying it's happening a lot, so we'll keep an eye on it.
Is it any more than one, or is it just this one?
Apparently he smashed mine and two more down the road.
Okay. was just up in one of the flats, and when I came down, the windows were smashed. So I don't really know. Apparently, some crazy guy who lives around here, he just like smashed 3 cars, and this was one of them, unfortunately.
Went to the road, heard the guy. He had a big chain on him, and he went to the front and bang. I was like, what the fuck?
This man lives here. This type of out-of-the-blue violence happens every day.
All the time. Bike theft, everything. Meaning like gun crime, knife crime. There's a lot of knife crime recently. Just all fucked up. This area's fucked up. It's changed within the last 15 years. I had friends who died, who got stabbed in Portobello recently, stabbed in the neck. This was all fucked up. Literally, he died on the scene. The area's terrible, really.
Here, unfortunately, is France's tragic death is nothing out of the ordinary. Every month, the police have to deal with murders and stabbings on streets that ideally need a heavier police presence. But the officers are risking their lives by being here. On this very street, an officer was murdered by a gang.
2 years ago, there was a police officer living there, and literally, there's a load of wanted people walking up the road, and they got them.
The vandalism comes as no surprise to Carlos. He's seen it all before.
I remember historically something like this had happened in the past, and so it's happened again today. It may be the same guy, maybe someone different.
And they're still here. Yeah, I'm just waiting for them to break the roadside assistant and I'll pick up the car.
At this stage, the officers can't do anything. The man damaging cars is already being investigated. In these working-class areas, people often express their frustration. But Carlos won't give in. He believes that violence can be prevented with one simple tool: conversation. When he patrols on foot, he always takes time to chat with residents. It's an opportunity for him to remind them that, despite the uniform, he grew up in the area. A surprising fact about the police in the UK, they don't carry guns. Carlos doesn't think they'd be useful anyway, not even in dangerous neighborhoods like this one.
The only thing I have is my radio and my communication.
Yeah.
There is still that little bit of respect that you are doing this job unarmed. Personally, it takes more balls to patrol with nothing. Because definitely, yeah, that's my personal opinion.
It's proof of the brave risk they take, but it also sends a clear message to criminals. The police in the UK avoid physical confrontation at all costs. To reduce tension, Braid and Carlos never miss the chance to lighten the mood.
Go on, you Arsenal! Yes!
Arsenal!
Although communication is key in Notting Hill, it's not everywhere else. In Paris, BST officers have to contend with both tourist traditions and those of the Romani travelers lining the street. Every day, Catherine and Anne endeavor to reduce the number of beggars camped out on the street. They're not always innocent people living in poverty. They often have ties to organized gangs. The problem is that the police and the beggars don't always speak the same language, so they have to be clear and avoid arguments.
There's a beggar every 10 meters. They lay down on the sidewalk and hold out their cups. People walk past and throw in coins or bills. It's a good system. I think they choose the Champs because it's an area where people are accessible, so it's easy for them to make money. It's a difficult problem. Everyone's complaining. The shop owners can't make any money. Parisians complain about it. It's really not great for the Champs-Élysées, and it doesn't give the street a very good image.
Primarily of Romanian descent, these Romani travelers are actually part of organized criminal networks. They take to the Champs-Élysées in the early hours of the morning and place themselves at strategic points all along the street. The beggars tend to deliver the fruit of their work to a Roma chief. They can make upwards of 400 euros per day when wealthy Middle Eastern tourists are feeling generous. The BST helps the criminal police trace these mafioso networks. Driving the Romani travelers off the Champs-Élysées is the best way of reducing their profits and of preventing their networks from growing.
It's another world. We see all kinds of stuff. Incredible contrast, total misery with people begging and wealthy people side by side on the Champs-Élysées.
The two worlds might well collide, but that doesn't mean they get along. The police is trying to prevent the Champs-Élysées from turning into a lawless urban jungle. Over the past few years, rickshaws from Thailand, known as tuk-tuks, have also begun lining the street. Yet another introduction changing Paris's image. In particularly busy tourist periods, they set up in prohibited areas. But Paris isn't Bangkok. There's not a lot of on-street parking. But now, Catherine and Anne can give them an on-the-spot fine, preventing fines from going unpaid.
Hello? That's not allowed. Do you have ID? You know that you can't do that here? He got a 35 euro fine. Might not seem like a lot, but 35 euros plus 35 euros plus 35 euros, well, it starts to add up. After all, they're working to earn money, so if they're paying fines every day, it's a lot for them.
This taxi driver is French, rare in these parts.
Most tuk-tuks are from Eastern Europe, about 90%. This individual isn't. He produced his French national ID card. So I think he's employed by a French company to do this job. Just so you know, we're coming down hard on tuk-tuks. Goodbye. They pass the word on. They know they have to. It's the same for everyone. The law's the same for everyone.
Although the Champs-Élysées welcomes tourists and workers from all over the world, BST officers have to remind people that only French law prevails.
Showing people that we're present. So important. That's why our unit was created for the Champs-Élysées, to show people that the police are here. It's also why we patrol on foot. We're twice as visible on foot as in cars. That's why our unit was created. That's why we're here.
When police presence isn't enough to prevent crime, these large European capitals can turn to special units. In London, if there's an emergency or serious situation, patrol units can click the red button on their radio to get immediate backup from a specialist task force, the Territorial Support Group, or TSG. If it hadn't been for the TSG a few years ago, a serious incident could have easily turned into tragedy. In 2011, the Metropolitan Police killed a man of Caribbean descent. He was a suspected cocaine dealer. Black British communities claimed it was a hate crime. Multiculturalism weakened. Widespread rioting ensued. The police were the main targets. The local police were in over their heads and had to call on the TSG. At the TSG base, a unit is training ahead of tonight's patrol. In the team, Adele, Ish, and George, under Sergeant Paul Perversi's command.
Come on, Ish!
Londonian multiculturalism is an integral part of the Metropolitan Police. Ish is of African-Pakistani descent, and Sergeant Perversi is of Italian descent. The Metropolitan Police actively recruits officers with different ethnic backgrounds to help facilitate its relationships with different ethnic communities. The TSG is a military-like unit. Before joining the police, Sergeant Paul Perversi served with the Royal Marines for 5 years.
It's high-intensity training designed to use all the major muscle groups because part of our duties is public order. So we might need to run a certain distance very quickly in full kit with the shields, flameproofs, NATO helmets, communication, all that other sort of stuff, fire extinguishers. So the training is a reality training to the guys' fitness and the high standards that we on the TSG expect.
The TSG is one of the only police units in the world that combines a foot patrol team and an anti-riot unit. Working on the front line, they're exposed to extremely violent situations, and so have to keep a higher level of fighting spirit and composure than most police officers.
Kit. The TSG officer, a riot squad officer, is the ability to run at least 1,000 metres in full public order kit in under 6 minutes. With my officers and myself, I'm going to do a 1,000-metre shield run. So full kit with a shield, probably weigh 30 kilograms on top.
With this amount of weight on them, the challenge seems impossible. Yet, they put themselves through it every day to make sure they're always ready to roll into action. Tonight, if any of the team takes more than 6 minutes to run the kilometer, they'll be left behind.
Paid for this shit. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
1 kilometer. That's 3 laps of the base.
Good pace, good pace.
Out of the 30 kilograms of kit, the shield itself weighs 17 kilos. The imbalance could cause a fall and make them lose time on the clock.
Finish 2, 2, 4, come on! Keep going!
Verdict?
Excellent. 5:45.
Success.
That was good. That was good.
He always keeps talking.
The training session is not over yet. And no, they're not going to play baseball. Sergeant Perversi moves into the final stage, making sure his team is always ready and knows how to contain and absorb violence from rioters.
Right. Extend, so this foot back. You're going to hold like that.
His impression couldn't be closer to real life if it tried.
Go away, get out of here! Piss off! Go away! Fuck you up! Get back! Get back! Get back! Hey, you! Come on! What are you doing? Come on! Index.
Despite the spectacular show of strength, the sergeant insists that the TSG isn't just a muscle unit.
TSG officer is a good all-round police officer. We're not looking for super cops, we're looking for good cops. And these guys are good cops. So, get changed, go have a shower, do some push-ups.
Paul and his unit will start their patrol in under an hour. Following complaints from foreign ambassadors and tour operators, the Champs-Élysées BST officers now also have a duty to protect tourists. On average, 80,000 tourists walk up and down the Champs-Élysées every day. Today, the Lido Cabaret will welcome Chinese tourists. To keep an eye on these Asian tourists, BST agents Kamel, Tiffaine, and Jerome are on the scene. Today's operation is one of the most important for BST officers. Any pickpocketing could significantly affect the Lido's turnover and provoke serious diplomatic incidents.
I think that's it. A first motor coach has just arrived carrying Chinese tourists. We're expecting 290 of them. So that will head towards the Lido, and we'll be out on the streets to dissuade pickpockets. We'll be out there at a fixed point.
Fixed point, in police speak, means staying in a set position and looking out for any suspicious activity. 920 Chinese tourists will attend the famous Lido Cabaret. It's an impressive number of tourists, and pickpockets will be out in force. Kamel and his 2 colleagues have to be on high alert. Chinese tourists are easy targets. Kamel has often witnessed their carelessness firsthand.
Their culture is different from ours. They don't have pickpockets. They don't have thieves conning people, conning tourists. So they come here to a foreign country and, well, they behave like they would at home. They're a little careless with their bags and their possessions, their cell phones. They're easy prey.
It doesn't take long for the almost 1,000 Chinese tourists to file into the Lido. You might say it's a show in itself.
They've arrived now, so what we need to do is get in there and make sure that no pickpockets or other petty criminals are in there. We're going to patrol and sweep the area. We'll keep an eye on what's going on.
While Kamel is patrolling, Jerome is making the Chinese tourists feel at home.
It's part of the folklore. Pickpockets generally surround their victims. They work in 2s or 3s. They distract the target while one of them slips his hand into their bag. Then they run off.
Kamel, Tifain, and Jerome's tactic is simple. Form a triangle around the Chinese tourists.
Kamel's opposite me, Tifain's on the right.
There might already be pickpockets in the area. To keep alert, the officers change position regularly to surprise them.
Tifain already ejected a miner in shorts. He was working the crowd. She moved him and his mother along. His mother crossed over there and he went out that way.
Yeah, he was a miner. We recognized him. He's often here. Just a pickpocket. He spotted the group and was moving in when I asked him to leave.
Cleaning up the area is even more difficult when most of the pickpockets are minors. It's harder to spot criminals when they're shorter than you.
The problem is, given how many people there are, kids can come in and steal things from bags and we don't even see them. They're too short. That's why we move around all the time. So that's it. Everyone got inside the venue for the beginning of the show. It's supposed to start in 15 minutes. We'll be back at the end of the show at 10:30 to do the same job, but as they're leaving. Yep, so 920 tourists have made it into the Lido. They're probably seated now. It went well. We secured their entry. We're leaving now.
In big European cities, simply being vigilant isn't always doing enough. Sometimes, the police has to show that it can fight back. At the TSG's headquarters in London, the officers are enjoying the last few moments of the calm before the storm. Sergeant Paul Perversi checks that his taser is working. It's the only authorized weapon he carries on patrol. Ish, George, and Adele remain enthusiastic. They chose this task force because they knew they'd never get bored.
Yeah, we don't really know what we're going to get called out to, so it does bring some sense of excitement.
We're going to go and patrol all the gang hotspots, and we'll also assist local officers in responding to emergency calls.
TSG units can generate their own missions. They can work as backup as well as free units.
It's gonna be a long night. A long night.
George is kidding around, but Paul and his unit often work 17 hours in a row. Luckily for them, their intensive training allows them to keep up the pace without too many difficulties. They are patrolling the most difficult and dangerous areas of Notting Hill. Paul and his unit have already spotted a suspicious vehicle.
This vehicle's got no registered keeper, so no one owns this vehicle. In England, we can stop any vehicle for any reason. Very quick, so... Wait. Wilton close up. Guys, let's go! Go!
An emergency call. The TSG has more pressing matters than checking vehicles.
Right, so one of our other carriers has just hit the emergency button on their radio, asking for more units. That's all I know at the moment, so our colleagues need help, we get there. So that's why I say to my guys, let's go.
A few minutes later, Paul and his team arrive on the scene. Other TSG units are also present. Inspector Ali Kerr is supervising the operation. He brings Paul up to speed.
We're going to take them and get them to the side. We've got a cage van coming, so if we need to arrest anyone...
Yeah, I'll let this one wait.
Yeah, we might be needing somebody to...
Inside that venue there's a large party. There's about 40 to 50 Irish travellers. A lot of them are drunk. They've run up quite a big bar bill and they're refusing to pay. And the staff want them out, and we're going to facilitate that. Previous experiences dealing with Irish travellers when they're drunk, they can be very problematic, very argumentative, and want to fight. So
tonight, a brawl could well break out between the Irish travellers and the officers. All the more so, given that these travellers are known for their bare-knuckle boxing skills. The first travellers leave the bar without too much fuss, but the next lot proved to be more of an issue.
That man does not come back in here.
George quickly stops them for re-entering the venue. The situation is clearly escalating inside the venue. They need backup.
Out you go, mate. Time to go. Identify the people that aren't paying the bills.
Fists might start flying at any time. The Irish travellers are violent, and we're not talking about featherweights. Even Paul has to use strong-arm tactics, but that doesn't mean he's any less accommodating.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much. Oh, careful, 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 careful. Buddy, you got it there. Move away. Let's go. Watch step. Keep going, guys. Keep going. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Boss, relax yourself. Stop pushing.
I'm chilled out, brother.
Stop pushing. I'm outside. Stop pushing me.
Please stop being drunk.
In the street, more and more Irish travellers have been thrown out, proof that the TSG is effective. But this is also a critical moment. The situation could quickly escalate now. The travellers tried to provoke the officers and the insults are flying. They're trying their hardest to get a reaction out of the police, but Sergeant Perversey keeps his cool.
Thick skin. They can shout and call us names, whatever. It's obviously there is a line. If they start being drunk and disorderly, racist, homophobic, anything like that, show any aggression or sort of physical threat, then my officers will take appropriate action. But as you can see, it's still all about talking to them.
One bloke left who's disputing his bill.
Finally, the last traveller exits the venue.
We could probably...
if we weren't here as a TSG, it would have been local police having to do this, so 4 or 5 police officers. So we can concentrate on this in numbers and actually dominate the situation.
In under 10 minutes, the TSG managed to restore order and prevent the Irish travellers from fighting.
225, let's go. 225.
In Europe's largest cities, different police units are absolutely essential, ensuring that any and all situations can be dealt with efficiently. In Paris, Catherine's BST unit is heading back down the Champs-Élysées towards the police station.
Shift's over in 15 minutes. That's it for today.
But there are still 15 minutes before she can hang up her uniform. And on the Champs-Élysées, you never know what might happen. On the way back to the station, Anne sees someone she knows.
He's head of security at Fouquet's.
Fouquet's is the most famous restaurant on the Champs-Élysées. It soon becomes clear that there's a problem.
There's a guy trying to get through the side door with a screwdriver.
Where?
At La Limonade on the terrace.
Apparently someone's trying to get in with a screwdriver at La Limonade.
What's the screwdriver for?
I don't know. We're gonna go find out.
Catherine's very worried. She's picturing the worst-case scenario and hopes that no one has been stabbed. They have to get to the entrance to Fouquet's as soon as possible.
Oh! Morgan! Look out! Morgan!
I'm armed! I'm armed!
Drop it! Drop it! Drop it!
In an attempt to get away from the officers, the man is acting recklessly. He's almost hit by a car.
There's a man armed with a screwdriver. He's threatened us with a screwdriver.
The man's about to get away, but as luck would have it, he turns around. He turns off the Champs-Élysées and heads towards a newspaper stand. Morgan, Johan, and Anne manage to get him on the ground.
It's okay, we got him, we got him.
Up close like this, the officers are in even more danger. The man still has the screwdriver and could easily injure or kill one of them in a fraction of a second. Even with 5 officers holding him down, the man is fighting back with impressive determination.
We need a vehicle. We need a vehicle right away.
Disarming the man is now their top priority.
Give me the screwdriver, please.
If he'd have trusted hard enough, the 15-centimeter long screwdriver could have punctured a vital organ.
It's the screwdriver, I got it.
Catherine and her colleagues can finally take a breath.
Everyone back. Everyone get back. We're coming, we're coming. Get back. We're coming, get back. I need more information about the individual. Do we know his motive? Why did he want to get into Fouquet's with a screwdriver? Have you been drinking alcohol, sir?
No, I didn't have time.
Oh, you didn't have time.
The 50-year-old man is Romanian. He was trying to steal perfume from the restaurant's boutique. Caught red-handed, the security guards removed him from the premises. Humiliated, he returned to the restaurant armed with a screwdriver. His arrest isn't making him see things clearly. Quite the opposite, in fact. He's boasting to the officers.
I could have killed you 10 times. Yeah, don't worry about it. You were knocked out, you were dead, you were finished. Yeah? But I'm not a killer. I'm not a killer. You understand? No, not you. But you could have died. You were completely exposed. My screwdriver was in your stomach. It was in your stomach, in your liver. Yeah, it was in your liver. It was under your belt. I had it under your belt. You almost died. You should thank God.
The man continues to openly provoke the officers about the danger he put them in. He might not be aware, but he's making things worse for himself.
Come on, let's go. We're not the ones who decide what he gets charged with. For the time being, we're putting threatening individuals with an improvised weapon, threatening police officers too, so that could up his charge. We don't know what his intentions were. We don't really know what he wanted to do. We don't know if he's drunk or if he's mentally unstable. We don't know. They'll have to find out.
Si, ils sont avec nous. Il est pas étrompé.
For Catherine and her colleagues, the day has been longer than expected.
An hour ago, I said we were nearly done. Well, we weren't. That's how random our days can be. We might get a call right at the last minute of our shift. We might stumble across something, need to help someone, be threatened by someone. Anything can happen.
The following day, Catherine will find out that the man was drunk and that an investigation into his behavior didn't reveal any mental impairment. His fate is now in the hands of the judicial police, and he'll have to appear before the Paris public prosecutor. Catherine and her colleagues' shift has finally come to an end. Another BST unit has already taken over. In Notting Hill, black British gangs reign supreme. Here, confrontations between rival gangs and violent outbursts are an everyday occurrence. The number of stabbings is on the rise. Easy to obtain and conceal. Knives have become the go-to weapon for gangs. Every night, Sergeant Paul Perversi and his unit lead an unwavering war on gangs.
This is the area that we're going to be patrolling now. So we're going to go all around the back streets where all the gangs hang out and see if there's anyone around.
TSG officers are constantly investigating. They spend hours and hours watching, questioning, searching and interrogating suspects out in the field, and they never lose their cool.
Don't take, that's great. Put your arms down, mate, chill.
You were very calm. You were very
Even when in the roughest areas, they don't worry about getting up close and personal with gangs.
I'm asking you to get out of the car. Listen to what I'm saying. You're detained for the purpose of the search. Chill.
Gang members are often very young.
What's that on your wrist? What's on my wrist?
Sometimes they're even minors.
Section 23 search. Wait, on my wrist, wait. Give me information. Are you high? Okay, am I? Be careful what you say. Yeah. Just chill.
Intense nights on patrol are a way for the unit to collect a wealth of information. To stay one step ahead of the gangs, they need to know their nicknames, their territories, their links, and their rivalries. With this information, the TSG can predict their movements and arrest them before they do something they can't undo. Tonight, the information they've collected leads the unit to locate gun-carrying gang members. They supposedly live in this estate on the outskirts of Notting Hill.
Which is where the double shooting happened earlier this morning.
It's the type of estate you can't just walk into. The group will split up to cover the area. It's tense. Although she's alone and unarmed, Adele isn't nervous.
Not scared, you should be aware, because tensions are going to be very high at the moment. Because there is a chance it could be gang-related, the shooting. I'm not saying it is, but there's still a chance.
Suddenly, the tension mounts, quicker than Adele was expecting. That's not the sound of a victim being attacked. That's her colleague, Ish. He's just arrested this teenager who drove straight at him on a moped. Ish stopped him because driving in the estate is illegal. The teenager tried to get away and even tried to ram Ish.
Okay, so at this moment in time, okay, you're under arrest on suspicion of no insurance, having no license, and taking and driving away your vehicle without consent. All right, does that make sense? Time of arrest is 20:43. This phone's ringing. We'll get that back. It's my cousin. Please, can you answer and tell him? Oh, they're not too tight, are they?
George examines the moped and finds something that explains the teen's behavior. Pointing at the ground just beside the moped, Adele shows George a packet.
You want, mate? Sure. Oh,
What's in it?
oh, that's very pungent smelling. Have a look, mate. It's good. That is good. Right, now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bags of herbal cannabis, mate. Can I ride it?
The teenager is obviously a dealer. Ish is smiling. It's a good find. For the officers, seizing drugs within the estate is a direct blow to gangs.
Del, if you get a chance, can I have a seat bag, please?
Most of what he had on, he was carrying in his hand, which he's dropped as he's come off the bike. Yeah, it's quite strong smelling. Skunk cannabis. This is a small amount. However, he's got a phone in his possession which is ringing, so there may be evidence of dealing on that. And if there's found to be evidence of dealing, then we can go with the higher charge of possession with intent to supply.
The lad on the bike is only 16 years old, so in the eyes of the law, he's still a child. We also believe that the moped could be stolen as well. So he's going to go back to the police station.
What you do is take a seat on there, buddy. All the way around. That's fine, mate. That's fine. And that one, mate, they're fine. Yeah, the more you move them, just keep them still. Yeah, like that.
At the same time, George and Sergeant Perversi take the moped back to the station, on foot.
Cheers.
The TSG officers never miss the chance to wind up their colleagues. The station is only a few minutes away. Once they arrive, George can finally start the engine. The teen is a known dealer. But as he's a minor, he'll only get a light sentence. Paul and the rest of the unit are on high alert once again. They've been called out to another emergency mission. Across the channel, Catherine and Anne have also received an emergency call. They're heading to a luxury hotel, popular with wealthy tourists. Within the hotel's walls, it seems that wealthy tourists think they're above French law.
Apparently, a couple was arguing and it escalated. There might have been some violence, something like that. We're going to check it out and see what's going on.
Within these upper-class, wealthy populations, discretion is key. No one wants their reputation to be sullied. The officers have to be as discreet as possible.
Prince's right-hand man asked me what was going on. Having police officers here isn't good for our reputation. It's not very reassuring. So I asked my colleague downstairs to set them up in an office. We've got royal families here. It's already tense here with what's going on in the news, and such a large police presence is really not good for us. It's the first time this has happened. I'm quite shocked myself to see so many people.
Catherine and Anne have to act fast. A wealthy Senegalese couple have been arguing. The husband hit his wife. The woman is terrified, and the room has been trashed. Overcome by the situation, the man who has beaten his wife requests that they don't remove him by the front door. Clearly, the receptionist agrees.
We'd prefer if you didn't take him across the lobby. He doesn't give a damn. He broke everything in here.
A friend of the couple, also staying at the hotel, tries to mediate.
It's just 2 minutes. Anyway, it's not his decision.
Please, we're asking you, don't humiliate us.
But Catherine's mind is made up. The violent husband's pride is the least of her worries.
That's it. It's not your decision.
Yes, I know, but he's not a criminal. He's never been handcuffed in his life.
It's not an a la carte service, you know. We make the decisions. We're exiting through there.
Okay, I'm asking you nicely. Can we not take a different exit? Please, madam.
We're going through there, sir, and that's final. That's it.
Catherine's had enough. She's finding it hard to contain her frustration.
Oh, they're so whiny, too. I don't want to go that way. I don't want to go that way. For Christ's sake. It's a joke. Yeah, what a laugh. This is crap. The door's broken. The lock and everything? Yeah, the housekeeper noticed.
The victim is covered in bruises. Having female officers present seems to reassure her. Despite her apparent state of calm, she's still in shock.
When we leave, she'll be seen by a doctor. They'll check to see if it's anything serious, if she has a head injury. Because she has bruises and marks on her skull and neck.
The attacker will be taken into custody. The victim is examined and receives emergency medical treatment. Catherine keeps her cool, but it's not how she feels under the surface.
He really went off on his wife, and then played the victim with us. I don't have a lot of patience for things like this. It really winds me up.
The victim is transferred to the hospital for further tests. This is the type of drama Catherine and her team often have to deal with. For Catherine and her team, being an officer means serving her country. Her work is a duty to her nation, just like their motto reminds citizens, pro patria vigilans, watchful for the country. a motto that would also be fitting for the police in England. Tirelessly patrolling the streets of London is an unwavering duty for Paul and his colleagues. In European capitals, like London and Paris, multiculturalism forces police officers to adapt to new forms of crime. They keep a watchful eye over their countries to ensure that cultural diversity always remains a positive aspect of life. Without these officers, Paris and London would not be the safe cities they are.